The 100% speedrun of Doom 2016 is one of the most intense and combat-heavy speedruns in the FPS genre. It features a ton of ripping and tearing that Doom 2016 is so well known for, and comes with a lot of management for weapon and rune upgrades, and sometimes requires improvising and coming up with solutions on the fly to get the most optimal result. Over the past 2 years, both the classic and ultra nightmare subcategories of 100% have seen drastic changes to their routes. Apart from combat optimizations, a large part of the route changes came from routing in major glitches and skips that were previously unused. These glitches and skips led to major time saves in a lot of the levels, in each respective subcategory, sometimes shaving off multiple minutes per level. However, as the levels are being rerouted, one of the objectives in 100% proves that rerouting things in 100% isn't as simple as it looks. See, since Doom 2016 does not natively track in-game completion as a percentage, the community devised its own list of objectives that would feature 100% completion. The following list on screen features the objectives in 100% that the community came up with. And it's exactly the first objective on this list, combat rating, that complicates the routing process. Before I explain why this is the case, it's important to understand what combat rating exactly is in Doom 2016, and how it is important for 100%. Let's jump right into it. Starting in the third level of the game, Foundry, a system called combat rating unlocks for the player. Combat rating is a system used to track a player's performance during combat encounters in Doom 2016. The combat rating is visible in the top right corner of the screen, and it's represented by 5 circles, with each circle filling up as you defeat demons. When you trigger an encounter and defeat demons, your combat rating goes up gradually for each demon you defeat during the encounter. As mentioned in the tutorial, you must find and kill as many demons as possible during a mission to maximize combat rating. Combat rating given from demons is simply a flat value, and is unaffected by factors such as glory kills, weapon variety, or other factors, with bigger and heavier demons giving more combat rating compared to smaller ones. Once the encounter is over, your combat rating is saved and added to the total, and a weapon upgrade point is obtained for every full circle of combat rating that's completed. These points can then be spent in a dossier to upgrade weapon mods. And it's exactly this requirement of having to go around each level to complete the necessary encounters to achieve full combat rating that hinders the rerouting in 100%, as every potential reroute has to consider the necessary combat encounters to be completed. But what can even be done about this? Skipping combat encounters is not an option, as getting combat rating is already tight in a lot of levels. More Railboosts or other major glitches can possibly supply the necessary combat rating. Surely there is no way this can be solved.
No.
Our quest to find a solution for the combat rating problems bring us to the 5th level in the campaign, the Argent Energy Tower. The Argent Energy Tower is home to one of the first major in-game events, where our antagonist, Olivia Pierce, escapes her pursuit by the Doomslayer by using an Argent accumulator to open a portal to Hell. The Argent Energy Tower in particular features some of the most unique encounters in the game. One of these unique encounters is the final fight of the level that takes place at the tower apex, right after the cutscene where Olivia escapes to Hell. The tower apex encounter is especially unique in the sense that it is a 3-wave encounter that separates the waves of demons in the form of 2 internal timers. The transition from the first to the second wave is either killing 6 of any demon or a 60-second wait. From the penultimate to the final wave, it's killing 10 of any demon or a 90-second wait. Killing the required demons or waiting out the second timer ends the level in a final countdown sequence, followed by an explosion, transitioning the player to the next level immediately. This sequence, as intended by the developers, plays out fine for anyone playing the game casually. But, as soon as we enter out of bounds in this arena, is where things get really interesting. As soon as we kill 6 demons or wait out 60 seconds to transition from the first to the second wave, then grab the invulnerability pickup, fall off the tower, and locate a checkpoint anywhere that has not been triggered before, and reload this checkpoint, the encounter breaks entirely. After reloading back into the game gets confused and adds the combat rating that was achieved from the first wave to the total amount of combat rating, but the encounter itself somehow still remains triggered. How is that even possible? Before I explain why this is possible and why this is important to our story, let's pause for a moment and briefly talk about the entities and triggers responsible for handling demon encounters and how these triggers are important to clarify what just happened. In Doom 2016, a demon encounter is, like many things in the game's code, known as an entity, and makes use of sub-entities, such as triggers, to initiate the necessary events to handle actions, such as to spawn demons, where to place them, despawn demons, and much more. There are a few triggers that happen during demon encounters, but the one most important to us is the so-called exit trigger. The exit trigger is responsible for disabling demon encounters after they are completed. The trigger disables an encounter and prevents new demons from spawning, but also despawns any demons that were left alive in the process, regardless whether or not killing those demons was required to complete the encounter. An exit trigger is a physical trigger, usually an invisible volume located somewhere in a level, and will trigger upon being touched. Some encounters use lockdown mechanics to lock the doors of a room, or put up a barrier to keep the player trapped until the necessary demons are killed, or through other methods. But the majority of them should still feature an exit trigger somewhere after its encounter, to ensure the encounter is disabled properly and the remaining demons are despawned. Without going into too much detail, what you want to know is that the majority of demon encounter entities in Doom 2016 use an exit trigger to ensure that encounters are ended properly and prevent a bunch of issues from occurring. We can also assume this is because of general optimization and performance-related purposes, but is also likely to prevent another limitation set in the game from being reached, known as the spawn cap. When the maximum number of demons are spawned in a level, the game stops spawning any more demons until the existing demons are removed from the game's memory. This is usually done either through killing them or by despawning them using an exit trigger. It's also likely a failsafe mechanic to ensure the game remains stable enough, by limiting the number of demons that can exist at once in each level, as performance will decrease the more demons are spawned. Going back to the exit trigger. Since the Tower Apex encounter is the final encounter of the level, it does not feature an exit trigger. The final encounter is meant to end the level instantly after playing out its intended sequence, and will keep spawning demons until the level ends. Since it's a unique encounter, the moment a player commits to this encounter is when the level is expected to end. The developers definitely did not account for players using an invulnerability pickup to fall off the tower, hit an unused checkpoint, and reload it. Therefore, even after reloading any checkpoint back into the game, the encounter is simply never disabled until the level ends. In fact, quite a few arenas in Doom 2016 can actually be abused by never touching such an exit trigger. And this means they can be used to farm combat rating. Yes, it's possible to farm combat rating by initiating an encounter, leaving at least one of the required demons alive, then find a checkpoint nearby that is close enough that a player will never touch the encounter's exit trigger, and reload the checkpoint. Similar to how we initiated the Tower Apex encounter, fell off the tower, and reloaded the checkpoint, the game adds the combat rating from all the demons that were killed before reloading to the total amount of combat rating, and never disables the encounter. This means encounter can be reset and redone as long as checkpoints are available. So how exactly is combat rating farming going to help us? Let's continue where we left off after falling off the Argent Tower, and find out how this Argent Tower plays out. A side effect from reloading a checkpoint is that the second timer that normally runs in the Tower Apex encounter and transitions from the penultimate to the final wave has now been reset, now allowing for another 90 seconds to pass before transitioning into the final wave. During this time, we are freely able to move around and do as we please. So let's keep on going. Close by the spot we just dropped is an arena that the community likes to refer to as the Summoner Arena. If we intentionally skip this encounter before, such as through Railboosting, it's a perfect arena to go back to. Why? Well, after interacting with the outside door to the elevator room from the bottom of the bridge, which is a cool little glitch by the way, you can notice right away that after the door, another checkpoint is instantly hit. If we reset this checkpoint once more, that same timer at the Tower Apex encounter is again reset back to 0, giving us another 90 seconds to play with. During this time, we can do anything in the Summon Arena. We can for example farm not only combat rating, but also the required mission challenges for this level. After we've cleared all but one demon in this arena, and got a good bit of combat rating and other things, we can make our way back to the elevator door. We grab a codex entry in this room, and also unlock an auto map that's in this room. But right after we trigger the auto map, another checkpoint is triggered, which we can then again of course use to reload and reset the second timer again. Now that the timer has been reset once more, we can simply farm the encounter in the Summon Arena again and find another checkpoint. But that arena doesn't give us a whole lot of combat rating for a speedrun. Instead, we are simply going to trigger this encounter in this arena, but we are not going to kill any demons this time. Remember when I briefly explained what a spawn cap is? Well, we've just triggered one. When we walk into the Summon Arena encounter, the game attempts to spawn the required demons from the Summon Arena encounter. But since the Tower Apex encounter is also still triggered and still spawning demons, a spawn cap has now been created, and only a limited amount of demons could be spawned, as the maximum amount of demons per level is 25. Now that a spawn cap is in place, it introduces a strange but useful side effect. The second timer in the Tower Apex encounter normally runs until 10 demons are killed in the penultimate wave, or by waiting 90 seconds for the timer to expire. But now that 25 demons are spawned, somehow the second timer bugs out even further and now introduces even more delay. What effectively happened is that, due to the spawn cap, the timer duration of the penultimate wave has been greatly expanded, and the demons keep spawning continuously because of the lack of an exit trigger as we mentioned before. The exact time that the timer runs is difficult to say. It can range anywhere from 3 minutes to practically infinite, depending on how the next part plays out. But we'd want it to be as low as we need it to be, otherwise we'd spend the whole speedrun in Argent Tower. Going back to what just happened, now that we triggered the encounter in the Summon Arena, we can now use Railboosts to make our way back up the Tower Apex encounter and continue from there. Oh, I should probably have mentioned that before, but the 100% speedrun features a bunch of Railboosts to get to places quickly, and the Argent Energy Tower is no exception. And is how we managed to trigger the Tower Apex encounter so early as well. Once we reach back up the Tower Apex encounter a second time, we notice the arena has only a few demons scattered around in places. And it's exactly these demons we need to kill. Since the game is spawn cap, it will only spawn more demons if the spawn cap is gradually lifted by killing demons. And for more combat rating, we want to kill as many heavy and super heavy demons as possible. After we kill the demons in sight, the game will start spawning the regular waves of heavies. In this wave, there are a bunch of heavy demons and these will keep spawning, as the game is still unable to trigger the final wave due to the second timer being glitched out. After farming around 3 to 4 minutes of non-stop combat rating, this is where we have to be careful. At this point, the timer will start to expire and the spawn cap will start to lift, and we want to prevent hitting the final wave too early before we get all the required combat rating. At this point, there are two choices we can make. The first choice is to take a gamble and to continue to kill heavies until we get full combat rating, causing the spawn cap to lift somewhere and the final countdown to initiate. Or we could take it safe. The first choice is obviously faster and more YOLO, but it's actually the other choice I'd like to continue this craziness with. After getting around 4 circles of combat rating and the spawn cap starting to lift, we'd want to buy a little bit more time for ourselves to farm the last required combat rating. And what better way to do this then? You already guessed it, find an unused checkpoint. Conveniently enough, there is a checkpoint near the top of the elevator that was left unused through the route that was used to trigger the Tower Apex encounter so early. So let's make our way out of bounds again and clip into the room with the elevator through the ceiling. Here, we simply approach the locked elevator door and trigger the necessary checkpoint. After reloading the checkpoint, we find that there is a small problem. We are stuck inside of this room. The door to the control room has also shut behind us, so how are we going to get out? Well, it so happens that in a particular corner of the room, we can use a technique called a paperclip to clip through the corner and get through the wall. We can then use a series of gauss boosts to get on top of the ceiling and get back into the encounter. Since the spawn cap has now fully cleared from reloading the checkpoint, killing 10 more demons is enough to trigger the final wave. During the final wave, we can grab the quad damage pickup and grab even more combat rating from the final Mankey at spawn, getting full combat rating before the level ends in a bang. Farming all the necessary combat rating in just the Tower Apex arena, plus a little bit from the Summon arena, saves almost close to 3.5 minutes compared to the previous route, and is the first and unfortunately only level so far that can benefit so much from combat rating farming from a single arena. Through clever rerouting, the tower no longer needs to be traversed from the inside, so its encounters and climbing the tower inside can now be fully skipped. And through this crazy glitch, we have solved the rerouting problems that were caused by combat rating. Well, actually, we've only solved them for the Argent Tower, since the way other levels are structured compared to Argent Tower makes them difficult for farming combat rating. In some levels like Vega and Argent there's definitely potential, as there are multiple checkpoints that make it possible to farm combat rating. Unfortunately, due to where these checkpoints are located, it makes it difficult to go for them, but who knows? We have greatly expanded our knowledge on how combat rating works, and maybe we'll find ways in the future to make it worth going for in other levels. For now, thanks for watching my video. I know I've been absent for a little bit, and my previous videos are more focused around Elden Ring, but Doom 2016 is one of my all-time favorite games and speedruns. Plus, this glitch is so insane, I figured I'd make a video on it. The small but dedicated group of Doom 2016 speedrunners have been pushing the times for categories lower and lower throughout the years, and seeing what runners come up with time and time again is just incredible to see. I want to give a special shout out to Elizabethany, one of the modders from the Doom 2016 modding community, for all her help with a lot of questions I had when looking at the game's files and figuring out how combat rating works. And of course shoutouts to the modern Doom speedrunning community. If you are interested in speedrunning any of the modern Doom games, I've left links in the description to the community Discord and the speedrun leaderboard pages of the game. Please go check those out if you're interested. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel as it really helps me out. I have some more Elden Ring but also Doom videos in the works, and I may also expand to other games in the future, so keep an eye out for that. Until then, see you in the next video.